we take things for granted that are readily available. And we almost never know what we have in the moment. Have you ever had that feeling? Often we don't have that feeling. We don't really see, you know? Sometimes we think we're trapped, but are we actually free? I remember when I was in California and I went to this local bookstore in the city. And this was a big old bookstore. I was so surprised at the size. You know, it was like, it had like 3 or 4 stories. And it had an elevator in the center of the bookstore that went all the way up and went all the way down. And I did want to go up. I wanted to see what books were on top, but I also looked down and I wanted to see how it would drop. Like, where would we go if we went to the basement of this bookstore? I was like, this bookstore has a basement? So I clicked the little button on the elevator, ding, and I went down, and it went down. And I saw the bookshelves going up as we went down. And I went to the very, very, very bottom floor of this bookstore, and I looked all around as I got off. The doors opened up, and you could smell the new book smell, but you could also see that there were so many books of antiquity. There were so many books of different philosophies, different kinds, different authors, different ages, different pages, at different stages of life, right? And I was really enjoying myself walking around this bookstore, just in my own kind of fantasy land, just opening my mind, expanding my consciousness of what else is there that I don't know? There's so much I don't know. And out of the corner of my eye, in my peripheral vision, I saw this lady. Now there were so many people walking in and out. You know, there were men, women, and children walking in and out, you know, just as happy as I was to pick out a new book, right? But there was this lady, and she was kind of up there in age. She might have been in her 80s or maybe late 70s even. She was this little old quaint lady. She was kind of walking very slowly. Very slowly. And I just noticed out of the corner of my eye, I didn't want to stare, but I slowly became aware of her posture. It wasn't a posture that I had ever seen before in my life. And it made an indelible impression on my mind, because when I saw her at the time, it was like her neck was crooked and it was pointing down to the ground. Her neck, as she walked, it was like crooked and it was pointing down to the ground, and she was walking so slow, so slow. And then she got to a bookshelf. She got to a section of a shelf that she wanted to look at a book. And she went through a whole process of slowly, painfully, gradually taking her neck and lifting up, twisting her spine to align to look up at a book that was right there on the shelf. And when I watched the process of this lady unwinding her neck, uncrooking her neck, and slowly lifting her head up, lifting her chin up, just to look at this book on the shelf, it must have taken like 30 seconds for her to look up. Took like 30 seconds. I had never seen before in my life someone with that shape of a spine that took that much time just to look up. And I don't know what emotions might take you in that moment. If you had seen what I saw, I was almost in tears. Like, I realized the level of empathy that I had for this lady, the level of compassion. I was almost in tears just watching this lady, what she had to do just to tilt her head to the sky. And I asked myself, why? Like, how? How did that happen? How does someone get to that state? How does someone get to that shape? And I thought of all the times I might have been tilting my neck down and looking at my phone while I'm walking around. I thought of all the times I might have been taking my flexibility for granted. And a seed was planted in that moment. As I felt I was slanted in that moment, I corrected my posture. I started to stand up a little bit straighter, right? I felt so blessed. I was like, oh my God, I've had a treasure. I've had a gift. I've had something that I never knew I had until that moment. My mobility, my flexibility, because they say that you never know what you have until it's gone. Whatever the circumstances that led that lady to become that shape, you know, the same thing could happen to us. But we don't think it could happen to us. Usually when things are available, we take them for granted. I remember there was an episode of The Simpsons where Bart and Lisa Simpson were walking down a road and somebody told them, hey, chin up. You know, why are you looking so blue? Why are you looking so glum? Chin up. And they just, you know, they tilted their chin up and it was like you could hear the bones cracking. You'd like, oh my God, it looks so great up here. Like, wow, I didn't even know my neck could go that far. And you realize that Bart and Lisa Simpson had been so despondent, so depressed and been in despair most of their lives. Like they had been looking down for so much of their lives that they hadn't looked up in a long time. And somebody just told them chin up and they realized, oh wow, maybe I should do this a little more often. That feels a little different, right? That's a new perspective. So what are some of the things that you might take for granted in your life? You know, you might see a car. Could you imagine a Rolls Royce or a Benz or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Bugatti pulling up next to you? And then this car vroom, pulls up next to you, and then out comes this person, and you see a cane. And you see a guy coming out the car and walking with a cane, walking with a limp, walking with a gimp, like over to his destination. And you say to yourself, wow, that car, that fancy car, that's not his vehicle. This is his vehicle, right? This is the actual vehicle. We only have one vehicle. How would you take care of this vehicle if you realized that you only get one? There's a saying that we each have two lives. And our second life begins when we realize we only have one. Right? When you realize you have one, you have only begun. Right? So what are the other things that you might take for granted? I remember so many times in Riverside, I would tell my Aunt Renee and my Uncle Jimmy, they'd be like, boy, why are you walking to the grocery store? I'm like, I'm just going to grab something. They're like, that's like 1.5 miles that way. You better use that car. Here are the keys. Here's the keys. Take the keys. Use the van. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. He's like, no, take the keys. We got perfectly good vehicles in the driveway. Why are you walking? And I'm like, Aunt Renee, I got legs. You know, Uncle Jimmy, I got a body. This is my vehicle. I got to use it, right? They say use it or lose it. I cannot abuse it. I got to choose it, right? So I don't lose it. What about the mind? You know, they say a mind is a terrible thing to waste. We don't ever think it'll be gone one day. We don't ever think that we won't be intact. You know, we take our blessings as a matter of fact. What about our intestinal organs, the stomach, our GI tract, right? How do we take care of that? Back when I was eating ramen noodles every day in the cups of styrofoam and I would microwave them, right? I would radiate this cup of styrofoam with ramen noodles. All sorts of sodium is already inside. And on the label, for years I didn't know, on the label it actually said, do not microwave. It said it clearly on the label. But I didn't know till years later of radiating this, this nuclear bomb of cups of noodles, and then I would pour on top of it hot sauce, Louisiana, Texas Pete, Parmesan garlic, and ranch dressing. It was never enough. I will never know how close I was, how close I came. My insides, right? The second brain. I probably had stomach ulcers, I don't know what I had, but I was eating these things as though I would live forever. As though there was no expiration date on this vehicle. So I ask you, my friend, what is one thing that you might have been taking for granted that moving into this next year, moving into 2024, that you will cherish even more? What is one thing? Comment it down below. Let me know. One thing that you have in your life, be it your mind, be it your body, your mobility, your flexibility, your two legs, right? Your 2 feet. Like they say, I once had the blues because I had no shoes, till I saw on the street the man with no feet. You ever heard that? What is one thing that you might have been taking for granted that you will take for granted no longer? What is one thing about you that you will cherish and you will grow that bond even stronger, right? Alexis says mobility and movement. Dancing emoji. Yeah, just the ability to dance, right? To feel that energy enhance. Letting go of I can't, for you know that you can. The power is in your hands. Louisa says meditation. Yes. I love that. The meditation vibration. Meditation is medication, right? Matt Hagen says my eyes. Those are the 2 gifts. We open them every day. You opened 2 gifts today. They were your eyes, right? These are gifts. When I read the book, The Story of My Life by Helen Keller, a lady who was without sight and without hearing, but she was not fearing, right? Even though she was without sight and without hearing, she was not fearing. Her inner sight was more clearing. So beautiful. Tracy, what's up? What's up, Guru? Tracy says the body. I love that. Yeah, Matt Hagen says reading, looking, etc. So blessings to you, my friend. Let it be that in 2024 you explore yourself even more, and that the beauty of your body is no longer a bore, is no longer a chore, right? You have so much in store. Don't take it for granted. And I trust that you received a nugget or a seed that was planted. Much love. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Keep that grateful, thankful spirit. This is Jerome Shaw. I'm your friend. Much love, and I'll see you again.